Hello, beloved. Today is a day when we do sacred reading together. And it is an opportunity for us to trust that the sacred texts from which we read and study can speak to us even in this moment. I find in my own reading that oftentimes the sacred text mirrors back to me something I need right now. And by mirroring, I simply am saying that it's something that's going on inside of me, and Spirit uses the text to speak the truth aloud to me in ways that I need to hear it. Sacred reading, also known in Latin as Lectio Divina, for those of you who are familiar with the practice, is an opportunity to listen to a text deeply. Now, there's a way to practice it. I know that I repeat this each time I do Lectio each week, and part of it is because we have new folks who join in on this regularly. So we begin by stilling ourselves, calming ourselves, and opening ourselves to hearing what the text may say. We may even enter into that with a kind of intention. I intend to listen with an open heart. And by setting that intention, we prepare ourselves to receive what comes. We calm all the other voices that we hear, the sounds and other kinds of things that might be around us. When I do Lectio, and I encourage you to do the same, I read it aloud. I find a space where I'm by myself. For me, it's that chair that's right over here behind me. But I do Lectio by sitting quietly and reading aloud the text. Because when I read it aloud, it's not just something that I can take straight into my brain, but the act of reading it and hearing it aloud, let it speak to me in a new way. After all, almost all sacred texts began as the spoken word long before they became the printed word. So by speaking it aloud, we let it to breathe again into our lives. So we listen, and then we see what image, what word or phrase rises for us, and what we might glean as to how it fits with our lives. Now, when I do this practice with you, whenever you happen to be watching it, I do this. I tend to read the text once aloud for you to hear it, and then I pause afterwards. I encourage you at that point to, if you wish, to stop the recording right then and sit with it to see what it says to you. Now, one of the things that I do, sort of as an example, as a way to show my response, but perhaps as a moment you get to overhear, is to hear my own reflections on the text. So after pausing, having read the text, I will say what I think, say what hit me, what image, what word, what way I was being called out. So join me in this practice if you would. I encourage you to do it on your own anytime you want. Listen carefully. Be careful that you don't just let it confirm whatever you wanted to know anyway, but rather that it might speak more deeply. So you have to kind of bring your self-awareness and your openness to the moment. So today we're reading from 1 John chapter 3, verses 18 through 20. Catch your breath. Close your eyes if you want. Listen with the ears of your head and the ears of your heart. My much loved children, our love must not be empty words on our tongues, but deeds done in truth. This is how we can be sure we belong to the way of truth. Whenever our hearts make us feel guilty, we can still have peace when we stand before him. For Creator is greater than our hearts and knows all things. Here in this first letter of John, I hear echoes of the letter, the general letter of James. In that first phrase about how they must not be empty words, but become action. I talk a lot about love. I think that's my calling. I think that's really the core of what I'm called to do, is to speak aloud of God's love for all of us, how infinitely precious and unconditionally loved we are as the gift we already are. That's how I have come to understand the good news. And so that's the good news I seek to proclaim. But I do wonder, as I read this text sometimes, if I do a better job of saying it in words than in making it happen in the way I act. Now, some people who know me well might say, for the most part, I seem to act it out. But there are certainly moments in my life when I could stop myself from saying or doing a thing that is hurtful, and I don't stop myself. Or there are moments when I should speak up or stand up in a given moment, and I don't do that. I don't know about you, but for me, that's what I reflect. That's what mirrors back to me as I read this text today. The need to be sure that it's not just words, because words are fairly easy sometimes to say. But what about the way I act on it? What about the way I live it out? Because the very next sentence tells me that it's not the empty words, but the actions that say the most about whether I'm really following the way or not. So I don't know what you heard, and I encourage you to ponder it. You're certainly welcome to respond in any of the places you can respond. If you want to respond on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel, you can, and I invite you to do just that. But otherwise, I wish you all the best in your sacred journey. And if sacred reading becomes a part of that, I wish you the best in that as well. Remember always, you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you already are. Until our next time together.